Hi guys, and welcome to the very first review on my channel. Today I'm gonna be reviewing Assassin's Creed Unity, the first Assassin's Creed title I've ever actually legitimately played. This is just gonna be my thoughts on Assassin's Creed Unity, what I think about different parts of the game. Yeah, and as like a disclaimer, I got this game at Christmas, on Christmas, I don't know, from a friend. I got it from a friend. It was on sale. It's normally $30 or euros, and I got it for $8. So I have a bit of a different perspective here, because if you buy it, you have different expectations for a $30 game and an $8 game. So yeah, there's that. I got it from the friend, installed it, and I basically played it for 4 days straight. I've never played that much of a game in such a short amount of time, so that's a sign of something. And in this review, I'm not going to be comparing this game to other Assassin's Creed titles, because like I've never played another Assassin's Creed title beyond like 10 minutes maybe at a friend's house. I think that was Odyssey or some shit. I can't really compare there. Like, okay, yeah, it looks better, but it's also newer. That's about it. So I'm not going to be comparing it to any other Assassin's Creed titles. It's just going to be this one single game on its own, no comparisons to anything else. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy that. And with that, here's my review of Assassin's Creed Unity. Part 1, the bugs. So I'm going to get straight to it. This game on launch day, and kind of like, I'd say in the first couple of like 1 or 2 years after the fact, the game was kind of known for its bugs. It had this really weird graphical glitch where the face wouldn't render somehow, so you would just see like the eyes and the mouth, and that's horrifying to look at. You're seeing that on screen right now. It's just disgusting, frankly. And the game still kind of has that reputation of being a buggy mess, a buggy shit show. I personally didn't have that bad experience with bugs. I didn't have anything major like that. I did have a few minor bugs. For example, the character Arno wouldn't render the first time I started up the game. So I'd start up the game and he would just be invisible. Everything's still working. He just wouldn't render at all, nothing, except like the belt with the weapons. But that resolved itself once I walked like a couple of meters, and there was like this circle around the spawn point where he would become invisible again. That happened, I'd say, like 20-ish times. Like, it did happen a few times, but it didn't impact gameplay whatsoever, and it wasn't prevalent anywhere, or present anywhere, except in this like 20 circle, and you don't walk through that circle ever again once you spawned in. So yeah, and there were also bugs that did impact gameplay. For example, there was a bug sometimes just randomly where I couldn't draw my weapon, any weapons or any gadgets. Arno just kind of refused to do anything that I wanted. I also had one where he couldn't climb. He just would not climb the fucking wall. He was just not in the mood, not vibing with that right now. And those did impact gameplay, and I'd say that pretty much every time that happened, it did lead to me dying, but it wasn't like very frustrating. It was just, okay, oh well, I'm dead, I'll give it another shot. So they did impact gameplay, but it wasn't like rage inducing. It was just, okay, well then I'm just gonna try this again. Well, doesn't matter. I don't have footage of any of these because it doesn't happen often enough that I could get footage of it. And in my 60 hours of gameplay, I think I'm up to 70 by now, I'd say that happened like 15 times. So overall, I'd say I had like 40, 50 cases of, probably like 40 cases of a bug. So like less than once an hour or something. So it's not very prevalent, and I'd say that Ubisoft, at least in my experience, the bugs in this game are largely either removed or inconsequential. It doesn't matter. They did not impact my experience negatively for the most part. I would not call it an issue at all. Part 3, the gameplay. So starting with the gameplay, I have split this section into 2 parts. The first part is parkour and movement, and the second part is combat and weapons / gadgets. So starting with the parkour and movement, which is pretty important in an Assassin's Creed game because that's like one of the main features of the franchise. The movement and parkour in this game is complicated. So this could just be because I'm on PC. It might be better on a console or with a controller. I don't know. But at least for me, with my keyboard, it's very complicated. There are a lot of different buttons that you have to press at the same time, and that you have to get used to playing it a bit. It took me a while to get used to it. It took me I'd say 2 or 3 hours just to kind of get used to how to move. And even after 20 hours of gameplay, I pretty much had it down. But even after 50 hours, I think at 50 hours I found a new way, a new trick. So it's very complicated. It's kind of hard to demonstrate that to you, but It does take a minute to get used to, but once you are used to it, it is pretty good to use. Of course, there are moments where it just does not want to do what you want, or where Arno just climbs on a fucking table and that gets you killed. Shit like that does happen, but you do feel in control of the parkour for the largest part of the time. It is... Especially the longer you play it, the more you get used to it, you feel more and more in control, and it feels more and more fluid. One area where you do not feel like you're in control is trying to get into a window. Windows are your worst fucking nightmare in this game, and one of my biggest problem areas with the parkour, because I cannot tell you how much time I've spent trying to make Arno get his fat ass through a fucking window, and it just would not happen. Windows are nightmares in this game. Everything else is pretty okay once you get used to the parkour. You will never get used to windows. That's not gonna happen. But except for the windows, I personally like the parkour in this game. It feels very rewarding to actually get things fluid, because it does take a second to get used to. But once you get used to it, you do feel like you are in control and you can do some pretty sick shit with it. The combat in this game, so as I said in the intro, I'm not comparing this game to other Assassin's Creed games. However, I did hear in a review that I watched way back when that this game's combat is different than other Assassin's Creed games. And I could imagine that, because the combat in this game is kind of heavier and slower, but in a way that I think is good. This is mainly because there's a blocking mechanic that you should be seeing on screen right now. Basically, enemies have a little life bar, and when this life bar lights up yellow, you press E, or whatever, it's E by default, or whatever the blocking button is, to parry. And that kind of makes combat heavier and slower. And I personally I like that mechanic. I think it's an awesome mechanic. It adds skill to it. It's very rewarding. I personally enjoy it very much. However, I do think that the combat isn't gonna be everybody's thing, but it's basically just parrying shit. And I personally find that very enjoyable. There's also enemies with pistols, and bullets are basically your worst enemy in this game, so that's kind of that kind of is a bit of a killjoy at times. It does add challenge, but it can be kind of shitty if you wrapped up in a fight and then some dipshit 40 meters away just fucking snipes you with a musket. That can kind of be annoying, but the hand-to-hand combat is very rewarding to get right and to just play with, to just fight. I really enjoy fighting in this game, mainly because of the blocking mechanic, and I personally do enjoy it, and I view the more heaviness and slowness of it as a pro. With that said and done, onto the weapons and gadgets in the game. In the game, there are multiple types of weapons that you can equip. Basically, there's one-handed, that's like a saber, a normal sword, a one-handed club. This is my favorite type of weapon. That's what you start with this weapon, and that's what I've been using the entire way through. I enjoy these ones because they're like very fast, and they're like the fastest style. Then there's long. That's basically just a spear or a trident or a bident. I don't know what a fucking bident is. It sounds like Biden, but it's a thing. And then there's heavy. Those are heavy weapons. Those are like big fuck off axes or shit, like really big and heavy, and they're like really slow to wield, but they hit really fucking hard if you actually manage to hit. Then there's like rifles or muskets. They're called rifles, but they're all actually muskets. It's basically just like these technically have the ability to shoot, so you can shoot at snipers with them, but I personally haven't really figured out how to actually do that in combat, like, ever. So I can't really shoot with them, and without the ability to shoot, they're basically just really shitty spears. And if you want to use something like that, use a fucking spear. Then you have a pistol. This is like a secondary, and I'm going to go into that more into detail for that in a second. But that's like a secondary weapon. You have pistols, multiple types with different fire rates and how often you have to reload and shit. And then there's the guillotine gun. That's like a big axe. It's a mortar. Like a handheld mortar with an axe inside, and if that sounds awesome to use, that's cause it is. You get that in the DLC. I got the DLC for free. I think that everybody does. I have the DLC for free, and you get that once you finish the game, and it's really fucking sick. And it's just a big fuck off mortar and an axe, and that's cool. Then onto the gadgets in this game. So in this game, you have a bunch of gadgets that you can use. The first one is the Phantom Blade. That's basically a mini crossbow on your arm, where your hidden blade is located on your wrist, like there. It's a baby crossbow. This can be switched with the pistol. The pistol has better range, but it's also loud. So if you shoot with the pistol, people are going to hear that. If you shoot with the crossbow, people are not going to hear that. The crossbow can also be replaced with, or the arrows in the crossbow can be replaced with other arrows called the Berserker Blade. And this basically has the effect that if you shoot an enemy with it, the enemy will go berserk and he will start attacking his friends, which is funny to watch and a great way to clear out an entire room with like pressing one button. And then there's also different types of bombs you can throw. There's a smoke grenade. It's a grenade. You throw it, smoke comes out, hides you from enemies. Enemies can't shoot into it and don't see you because smoke. Then there's stun grenades. It's basically a medieval flashbang. It's semi-useful. I don't use it that often, but it's basically a medieval flashbang. Cherry bombs. Cherry bombs are like mini firecrackers that you throw. You can throw it somewhere. They make a little firecracker. They're firecrackers. And then the enemies walk over them. They're like, what the fuck was that? They walk over there and you can stab them or kill them or run past them. Then there's poison gas. It's basically like the smoke bomb, except that it's not smoke coming out. It's poison gas, and it damages enemies and you over time. Then you have minor abilities. You have the ability to disguise yourself as any NPC. Isn't that useful because it wears off pretty quickly, but it doesn't hurt to have. You can throw down a purse of money, like a tiny bag of money, and you lose like 20 currency. I forgot what it's called. And then civilians will run to that place, and that's useful because then you can hide in the crowd. And you have the ability to pick locks and use Eagle Eye. Both of those abilities have been shown in this video already. Part 4, the story and setting. Warning, there are spoilers for the story ahead. Skip to the timestamp that is on screen right now to avoid spoilers for the story of Assassin's Creed Unity. So, the story of this game basically consists of Arno, the main character, is horny for a girl called Elise, and this horniness gets his dad killed, then it gets her dad killed. He gets blamed for the murder, and then he gets sent to prison, and then he's kind of pissed about the dad's dying, but that isn't the main motivator. The main motivator is that he wants to get Elise to like him so he can fuck her. That's his whole motivation throughout the story. How can I fuck Elise? And kind of also, how can I get revenge for this? But he only wants revenge mainly because he wants to fuck Elise. And then he gets a master assassin killed because he wants to fuck Elise. Then it turns out that his mentor was working against them, because he didn't like how much Arno was being horny for a Templar. Elise is a Templar, by the way. Then Arno and Elise start working together because he still wants to fuck her, don't forget. Then, when they finally get the fucking chance to kill the big baddie, Arno doesn't go for it. I'll give you $100 if you can guess why. No, I won't. It's because he wants to fuck Elise. She would have, and like she's in this semi-life-threatening situation. Like, she would have been fucking fine. Just let her be captured and go free her in 10 minutes. But no, he wants to fuck her. He lets the big baddie go, and then eventually the big baddie kills Elise, which Arno isn't happy about. And the entire story is just Arno is fucking horny for Elise. And he's a stubborn bastard, and he's horny, and he wants revenge, but mainly because he thinks that's how he's gonna get to fuck Elise. And if you're thinking that, oh, this story does not sound that good, it's meh. It's not that bad. Like, on a character level, like the actual story, I personally don't really like that much. Now, that could be because I'm asexual, which is a lack of sexual attraction towards anybody, and the main character's whole character is basically, I want to fuck a person, which is just an emotion that I do not have and cannot relate to. So maybe it works better for you, but I just find Arno boring as fuck. Literally. The dude has two character traits, horny and stubborn, both of which work against him all the time. If you're somebody that's really invested in the story and you only play games for the story, and that's pretty much it, I wouldn't say that this is the bestest story. It's not bad. It's just not really. I just do not give a shit about Elise or Arno or any of the assassins at all. I just want to stab people, and I want to stop watching Arno being so desperately horny. Like, dear God. The main weight is carried by the setting. In case you haven't noticed by now, the setting is Paris around the Revolution. If you didn't notice that by now, you should think about what I don't know. You have issues. But I personally find the setting very appealing. This is, of all the Assassin's Creed games, my favorite setting, and just the one that I vibe with the most. I just like the aesthetic, and the story of the game isn't bad because of the setting. The story carries you around the place. In the story, you meet Napoleon, you watch different revolutionary shit go down, you watch the king get beheaded. The story basically is an excuse to cart you around the French Revolution and just tell shit about it. And I personally find that perfectly okay because I find this setting really interesting. If the setting were anything else, I would not find the story. I would probably have issues with the story. If the setting were modern day or in Greece or something, just periods that I personally do not find that interesting, I would have more annoyance with the story. But because it is in a time period that I find interesting, and because it basically serves as an excuse to just show you shit about the time period, like, and it's not like they're just, oh, suddenly here's Napoleon. It makes sense that he's there. It's not that. It makes sense that he could be there, and it's a fairly elegant way to just cart you around the place. I wouldn't recommend the story on its own, but in combination with the setting, it's fair. I have absolutely no issues with it. The setting is very beautiful. I personally just got my chair. I personally find the aesthetics and just the way everything looks back then very appealing. The city is amazing. There's a lot of detail, there's a lot of shit to do, a lot of chests to find, people to save, and people to rob. The city is it feels lived in. It's very big, it's very detailed. It feels like an actual city, and you can spend a lot of time in the city. And I did, and I do. So yeah, the story itself is kind of, because the main character's whole character is, I want to fuck a girl, and since I'm both gay and asexual, that is, like, not anything I can relate to on any level. So, maybe that works better for you. It didn't work that great for me. The setting is absolutely amazing. It is the reason I bought this game. It is the reason I like this game, and it is the reason I like this game enough to write a review about it. Part 5, the conclusion and my summary. So I don't think this game is everybody's type. That's because a lot of the systems are, like, the parkour, the combat, and the story, each of these are, and the setting, are fine for me. I personally enjoy the heavier, slower combat. I find it extremely enjoyable. I like the parkour, even if it's a bitch to learn, and I find the story meh, whatever, and I really like the setting. But I don't think everybody will. And I could imagine that, for example, if you absolutely fucking hated the parkour or the combat, or just do not give a rat's ass about the setting, I could imagine that a lack of one of these three things could, like setting, combat, and parkour, if one of these things you don't like, it kind of falls apart. I personally like all of them, so I like this game. But if you don't like heavier, slower combat, that is also more rewarding, but is just also slower, which I see as a benefit. If you don't like that, then you probably won't like the game. Or if you're a person that really cares about a story of a game, and you want the story to make you feel something beyond, oh my god, Arno, you horny bastard, then you probably won't like this. And if you don't give a shit about the setting, then the story also kind of loses its purpose, because the only reason that I think the story is okay is because it shows you cool shit about the setting. And if you don't like the parkour, well, it's an Assassin's Creed game, and that's kind of important in an Assassin's Creed game. And the parkour especially, it has a bit of a long learning curve. Like, it does take a second to get used to, and by second I mean 2 to 3 hours, for me at least. And even 30 hours in, I was still finding new shit, new button combos, which can be very rewarding to find a better way to do shit, and it looks fluider, and it's fuck yeah. But it can also be frustrating because, especially in the first, I'd say, half an hour, I was kind of, it was annoying to try and walk around, because just of how weird all of these buttons are to press at once, which I once again can't really demonstrate. So if you don't think that the combat sounds good, if you don't want to interact with the parkour system, that is kind of a bit hard to learn but also rewarding, and if you just do not care about the setting, I wouldn't recommend this game that much, because it's kind of important that you like all of these. Overall, I completely fucking loved my time with this game. I got it, I think I said that at the beginning, I got it as a gift on Christmas from a friend. It was on sale for €8, which is a good price. If it's on sale and you're kind of on the verge of buying it, if it's on sale for like €8-10 or like dollars roughly, like $10-12, I personally would say it is worth it. I would not say that it is worth the full price. 30 euros or like 30, I think that's roughly $40 is too much. Wait a month. Buy it when it's on sale. If it sounds like you would enjoy it, I would recommend just wait till it's on sale and buy it then. I spent like 3 days doing nothing else but playing this game, and I've never spent so much time in a single game in such a short amount of time. And even now, 6 months later, I still haven't been that fucking invested in a game. And just because everything about it, the combat, the setting, everything just intrigued me. I enjoyed it. The combat, I even purposefully make shit harder for myself with the combat by equipping the shittiest gear possible just to make it challenging for myself, just because I enjoy it that much, and that's not something I usually do. However, after all of this, I played through the main story in roughly 50-ish hours. I was taking my sweet ass time with that. And then I played through the Dead Kings DLC, which was fun. I'm going to make a review on that. Hang tight for that. And after that, I was at like 60-ish, 64-ish hours of gameplay. And after that, I just kind of never touched it again, except for this review, because the story isn't capable, not the story, the world isn't really capable of holding itself up. I can't explain why, but with the story going on, with missions happening, it's perfect. It's a great world. But once the missions are gone, it kind of falls apart. Like, you can't just run around in it and do shit without there being an overarching story. It just didn't work for me at all, and the world feels kind of hollow without the story or the excuse to show you the setting. Because if you're just running around in the world where it's just, okay, medieval house, medieval person, medieval house, but with the story showing you the cool shit about the setting, it gets intriguing. So I would definitely recommend this game to you if it is on sale for any amount. Okay, not quite, but like if it's on sale, I would recommend it to you. The more it is on sale, the more I would recommend it. And if you're thinking about buying it, I would think about whether or not you find the setting intriguing. If yes, fine. Do you want to deal with a parkour system that's shitty for like 1 or 2 hours or 3 hours maybe at max? If you're fine with that, and do you like slower, heavier combat? In a good way, for me personally. If the answer to all of this is yes, and the game is on sale, I would recommend you buying it. If the answer to these is no, or the game isn't on sale because 30 euros is just too much, I would recommend not buying it. But I personally very much made a good purchase with this game, and I enjoyed my time with it a lot. I enjoyed basically all of the 70 hours that I now have in it, and I personally think it was a good purchase. Part 5. That was my review of Assassin's Creed Unity. I hope you enjoyed it. That was the first review I've ever written. That was the first video that I ever wrote a script for. My script is sitting right in front of me right now. It has 1,400 words in it. And this part right here, the outro, is unscripted. And I just wanted to say thank you for sitting through my bullshit for like 20 minutes or some shit. And I really hope that you enjoyed watching this video and that it helped you. Either just you enjoyed it or it helped you with informing yourself about if you want to buy this game or not. I've been wanting to make this review for like 6 months now, basically, and I've been waiting on getting my own PC to do that, and I finally have the new PC, and Two Teeth Les got the PC on the same day, basically, that I got my wisdom teeth removed, so that was swell. And I'm really happy that I was able to make this review. I really had a fucking blast at every point of this. I had a blast writing the scripts, recording the clips, and editing. It was just fun all the way through, and I hope that it was fun to watch. And I plan on making more reviews because this was just genuinely a good experience. And if you have like any suggestions or improvements on what I could talk about in the next review, like if I forgot an important thing about the game or if you found something unclear, I would love to hear your feedback in the comments. I would love to hear what you think about this, my style of review, how I could improve, or suggestions. And I really just hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you did, it would be cool if you could consider liking and subscribing. Right now, at time of recording this, I have 174 subscribers. Let me check that. Yeah, 174 subscribers I have right now. And it would be cool if you could subscribe. I would like to get to 180 this month, and then it's not that far to 200. Maybe when you're watching this, I've already hit 200. Who knows? But yeah, please consider liking and subscribing. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for sticking around. See ya in the next video, and hopefully see ya in the next review in probably another 6 months.